We in this beach.
Coming at you live.
What's the rules with the language?
The first rule of Fight Club is
Know the rules.
second rule of Fight Club is
You gotta know the players.
third rule of Fight Club.
You know something? You really just gotta know the rules.
Fourth rule.
You still gotta dribble, my man.
Fifth rule.
You can look as goofy as you want.
Sixth rule. No shirts, no shoes. Seventh rule.
Justice will always be served, folks.
And the eighth and final rule.
And you gotta know the rules.
You gotta know the rules.
You gotta know the rules.
All right, welcome to the fourth episode of the Know the Rules podcast. Josh here, joining me as always. We've got Scott, Miles, John, and producer Dugas. Boys, what's going on?
Hey.
What up?
All right, let's get right into it. No more football, guys, so I don't even know what to start off with. It's kind of that lame part of the year where college basketball is still going on towards the end of the season. Still not at March Madness. We just got NHL and NBA regular season. So in that, it makes me reflect on the year. I think we've had one of the best years in sports. Think back to what we've seen the last calendar year. We had the Patriots coming back from the largest deficit in the Super Bowl ever to lead an improbable comeback to win the Super Bowl. We had the Cavaliers taking down the best regular season basketball team in history from a 3-1 deficit and winning the NBA championship, and LeBron bringing that championship trophy to Cleveland. We had the Cubs breaking over a 100-year curse. We had Clemson taking down the big dog, Alabama, and we had Villanova upsetting UNC in the buzzer beater. Guys, I don't think there's been a better time in the last year to be a sports fan. There's been so many good games. Miles, I want to hear which one of these great games has impressed you the most so far.
Different than what you may expect. You would think I would side with an upset of North Carolina because I would never, ever root for them. And I like basketball a lot more than football. However, it has to go to Clemson. Has to go to Clemson. Everyone in the country thought Alabama was going to win that game. Undefeated, by far the number one team. And Deshaun Watson is now going to be the first quarterback taken in the NFL draft based on that performance. Down 14-0. The game-winning touchdown pass with a second left to a white guy? Come on. Beautiful.
Scott, who impressed you the most this year?
So, Miles, surprisingly, I actually kind of agree with you. I know that, Clemson dethroning Alabama was pretty damn impressive, but I'm actually going to go with the Cavs here, beating the Warriors. Josh, like you said, Warriors were the best NBA regular season team in history. So that was pretty impressive in and of itself. But the 3-1 comeback, LeBron James just putting the whole team on his back, pretty damn impressive. And it's not like, I didn't even consider that Patriots game in this discussion, more impressive than just coming back in, 1+ quarters. They had to do it in 3 games, 2 of which were in Golden State. And it's not like, Warriors dropped the game. Clay went off in Game 5. He had 37. Steph had 30 in Game 6. And Draymond had 32 in Game 7. So it's not like they, did nothing like the Falcons. But, yeah, I agree with Miles. I think it's a toss-up between the Cavs and the Clemson Tigers. But I'm going to have to go with the Cavs here.
John, what do you got?
I agree with you, Scott, except I don't even think it's close. I think the Cavs taking down the star-studded Golden State Warriors last year, arguably the best team in NBA history, certainly the best record in NBA history. I'm not even sure many people gave LeBron James a chance going into this series. And by the time Game 5 rolled around, it seemed like Steph and the boys had it all but wrapped up. But then LeBron grinds out back-to-back 41-point games. Kyrie all of a sudden can score whenever he damn well feels like it, and the defense was unbelievably locked down. LeBron even guarded Curry when he had to, and he made the NBA MVP seem irrelevant for minutes at a time. So this was definitely the most impressive championship for me this year. And personally, I've never been so psyched for a Game 7 of NBA Finals.
You guys are all wrong. All wrong. And I'm not going to go where you think I'm going to go. It's going down 3-1 Cleveland. That was impressive, but we see that in basketball before. We actually saw it in the round right before that. The Golden State Warriors went down 3-1 to OKC, and they pulled the comeback. So it's not like it's never been done before. Clemson Tigers, they weren't completely – I mean, I don't think Vegas took them that high over Alabama. It was about time for Alabama to be unseeded. I think Clemson showed the year before that they could have – they definitely had a shot in the game, and there was a one-score game last year. And I'm not going with the Patriots because am I impressed? Of course, but I expected it. I expected a win there. Not quite in that fashion. I didn't expect to go down 25 points and Tom Brady to have the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. So that I wasn't the most impressed by that. But I got to go with another team that went down 3-1 and won their first championship in over 100 years, the Chicago Cubs. That made baseball fun to watch again. I think baseball has kind of been boring and lacking. That series was so much fun. Chicago came back from a 3-1 deficit to one of the best pitching staffs in all of baseball. It was awesome. The theatrics were crazy. They went up big in Game 7, gave up the lead, brought it to extra innings, and then won in extra innings away in Cleveland. It was awesome. So that's why I'm going with the Cubs, and we'll look for them to do it again this year. Dugas, you got anything to add?
Nah, I love the Pats. Cubbies winning was awesome. Golden State losing was awesome. They're all pretty amazing. I agree.
Personally, Josh, I could not disagree with you more here. To be honest, I'm not a baseball fan whatsoever. I couldn't even tell you if I watched Game 7. I don't remember that at all. So I thought it was pretty irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant, though. It's like America's sport. I mean, just because you personally don't like it.
Slowly fading. It's slowly fading. And I must correct you, Josh, by the way.
It's America's pastime.
These Cleveland Cavaliers, that was the first time in finals history to have a 3-1 deficit overcome, and the Cavs did it for the first time in history.
It wasn't just a 3-1 deficit. It was also the best team in NBA history playing LeBron James, one of the best players in history.
They had the best record in history. They weren't the best team in history. Don't give me that.
Arguably regular season team. And could potentially be outdone this year with the addition of Kevin Durant, which is mind-blowing. But Scott is completely right. Who cares? It's baseball. America's pastime. Past.
Because you guys don't like baseball didn't make what happened not awesome.
Yeah, I watched the last 3 innings of that game, and I couldn't even bring myself to sit through the rain delay and watch the end. Are we having a moment of silence for baseball?
No, my screen's
in peace. No, yeah.
But in all honesty, the Patriots Super Bowl win was the most impressive by far. I think we can all agree.
I don't even agree with you because I expected the Patriots to win the whole time.
Yeah, the Pats just played like booty in the first half. They should have won that game handedly if they just didn't, turn the ball over.
I forgot to mention Cavs is as easy road to the championship as the Patriots.
Not this year, though. The East is going to be a lot more difficult.
Not this year, but last year.
I don't know. Y'all picked against the Patriots how many times in the playoffs and they still won? I don't know what you're talking about.
Did I? Certainly didn't.
It seemed to work last year.
All right, speaking of championships and celebrating them, this past Tuesday, the Patriots had their Super Bowl parade. Unfortunately, Miles and I were neither able to go. But in that time, the Bruins thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to go ahead and fire their head coach of 10 years, Claude Julien, when no one was paying attention.
Sweep it under
Snuck that in there. It's kind of a amateur, scummy, cheap way to get rid of your coach, to bury it within the Patriots celebration. It was about time that Claude got let go, relieved of his duties. Things haven't been working out the past couple of years, but the way the Bruins handled it, I thought was BS. Miles, what do you think of the way the Bruins handled that situation?
Completely agree. Not the right time, place, anything. The city is all celebrating the Patriots' great achievement. You don't rain on that parade, and that's what they essentially did. The sad thing is, Claude was the winningest coach in Bruins history. He won in 2011. He lost in the finals to the Blackhawks in 2013. By no means do I blame this season or the past couple seasons on him. What Peter Chiarelli did to this franchise is crippling. With some of the moves, Chara, as I've already mentioned, just boneheaded contract. 6 years, over $7 million a year. How do you expect to sign other players for a guy that's not even that good? Chiarelli made Claude Julien's grave, and it was only a matter of time. It's a lot easier to change the coach than to change all the players, and that's really what happened here.
Yeah, no, I agree. Peter Chiarelli, this team was set up for success after that 2011 run for a couple years ahead. And then Peter Chiarelli made some boneheaded mistakes, terrible deals, signing guys to long contracts that had no business getting contracts, getting rid of guys who were franchise players, and really screwed the Bruins moving forward. But what I do see and what I do agree with this firing is more with the fact that Claude's system, defensive system, kind of doesn't really fit today's game nearly as much. Ever since we've gone to Bruce Cassidy, we're 3-0. We're scoring a lot more goals. There's actually some action on the offensive end. Instead of just playing this lockdown defense, which used to suit our roster, now we're getting a little younger, a little less inexperienced. I think the change is welcome and needed, and I think it's going to help them push in the second half of the season to make it to the playoffs.
I definitely think so. I watched the first two periods last night against Montreal. In my opinion, Montreal is hands down the best team in the Eastern Conference. I know Scott might take exception to that, but Montreal is the one team I don't want to play in the playoffs, being a Boston fan. And the Bruins looked very good last night. Also coming off wins against San Jose and Vancouver, two respectable teams. We'll see what happens. We're still in third in the Atlantic. The Leafs are dropping games. I still think the Bruins should get in here.
Yeah, the Bruins have won all three, and then Montreal and San Jose are both first-place teams in their divisions. So good wins. Scott, you got anything to add on Claude Julien?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you guys more. Probably, bad timing. They probably should have done it earlier, to be honest. They've been struggling this year. You guys are saying they're turning it around. They've won 2 or 3 games. Congrats.
Yeah, 3.
They need to do a lot more than that. So, Claude, they were struggling. John even pointed it out a while ago that they made the playoffs, they made the Stanley Cup Finals, and then year after year, it just got worse and worse. So it was only a matter of time, really. But yeah, back to Miles' point, the Canadians being the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. How about let's talk about the number 1 team in the NHL? I mean, we got the number 1 defense in the NHL, the number 2 offense in the NHL. Please.
What team is that? Who?
The Washington Capitals, folks.
Okay. Yeah, you didn't mention that.
They are pretty damn nice. You can talk about their lack of postseason history, but that's in the past. This is a whole brand new year. Say what you want. Number 2 offense in the nation and number 1 defense in the NHL. What are you going to do? You're not going to be able to get past Holtby, and our offense is pretty much unstoppable at this point.
John, what do you got in the state of hockey right now?
All right, well, skipping what Scott just said there first for a minute. Claude Julien is gone, and Bruins players are reportedly shocked that Julien gets fired. I mean, no shit, Sherlock. This might be the most underperforming team in the league. Backus, Bergeron, Krejci, Tuukka in net, and all they have to show for it is a mediocre 29, 23, and 6 record. I've seen this team with my own 2 eyeballs. They stink. I hope they have some incentive to turn it around at this point. But as for the Caps, they've had a losing record against the Penguins for the past 4 seasons straight. Good luck getting out of the East. They've been bounced by the Rangers in the playoffs the past 3 out of 5 seasons, and they've never been to the Eastern Conference Finals with Alexander Ovechkin. This team isn't going anywhere. Kiss this season goodbye, just like the rest of them.
And like I was just talking about, folks, you can keep talking about the past. Like I said, it's a brand new year. We are bar none the number 1 team in the NHL. I was reading an ESPN article today. First sentence, Washington Capitals are the one and only powerhouse team in the NHL. I think we can all agree on that. I don't see any article mentioning the sorry-ass Bruins or the sorry-ass Devils, especially the Devils.
Hey, Scro, what's the greatest predictor of the future? The past.
Hey. You can keep talking about the past. These off-season signings, it's looking bright for the Caps. Keep talking about the past. We'll prove you wrong.
Scott, John brought up a very educated, we're all shocked, a very educated point. The Caps would have to go through the Pittsburgh Penguins, the New York Rangers, and as I mentioned, the Montreal Canadiens. In a 7-game series, I would never bet against the Caps, against any of those 3 teams. The Penguins, coming off the Stanley Cup, the Rangers, in my opinion, Lundqvist is better than Holtby every day of the week. And as I already mentioned with the Canadiens, that is the team you do not want to play in the East. You are not going to go into the Bell Center and win games. And Carey Price can be the hottest goalie in the league when he's playing well.
That's just an interesting take because, like you said, like I've been saying, talk about the past, but this season we've handled all of those teams. We've whooped up on the Canadiens. Rangers are irrelevant. Who was the other team? The Penguins. We've beaten them this year as well. You can take them in a 7-game series, but this season so far, we've handled all the teams.
All right, keeping on teams that the Capitals are going to have to beat, the New York Rangers, their goalie, Henrik Lundqvist, fast to ever reach 400. John, I know you got some strong feelings about this, so let's hear it.
Henrik Lundqvist is now the fastest to 400 wins, as you said. You might think he's about to be in the conversation with big names like Brodeur and Waugh, but that is not the case. Henrik Lundqvist has an incredibly long way to go. 3 Stanley Cup championships for Marty, 0 for Henrik. It's not a pretty picture for Henrik. He's got a long way to go. He's never getting there.
And Scott, I think you wanted to add something to that.
Yeah, I got respect for Lundqvist. Obviously, he's very good with the 400 wins, the fastest guy ever. Yeah, he doesn't have the trophies, and he's got 1. That's pretty good. But the funny thing is, that's the fastest, in history. But with that, he's got 400 wins in 727 games. That's a 55% win percentage. Now, Braden Holtby, he's got 149 wins in 244 games, and that's a 61% win percentage. So Braden Holtby is well on his way to beating that record pretty handedly. So I'd be, excited to look out for that. I mean, we all know, you guys have to agree with this one, that the Caps are an amazing regular season team. So Braden is right in line to blow that out of the water.
I think you're a little too high on your horse here, Scott. We agree the Caps put up numbers in the regular season, but they're going to have some money moves to be made in the next coming years. Hope he may not replicate these numbers. John, the funny thing is, you mentioned Martin Brodeur and Patrick Waugh in the same sentence. Who do you think is a better goalie all time?
It's so clearly hands down Marty Brodeur. It's
Why?
Not even close.
Give one educated statement.
Marty Brodeur owns the record books. He owns the record books, and that's why he deserves to be the greatest of all time.
Does he have more Stanley Cups than Patrick Waugh?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. 3-1, you dumb.
I was just testing you.
He won. Patrick Waugh won in Colorado. Did he win one with the Canadians, or did he win 2 in Colorado?
He won in Colorado.
He won 1 Stanley Cup. To be fair, if you knew any history, it was over Marty Brodeur that won Stanley Cup.
Oh, you could have thrown that in his face.
Yeah.
John, that was so long ago. I don't even remember watching hockey that year, dude. That was 2000.
You could have used John's argument about Brady and Eli.
Yeah, that's funny, Josh, because that's right around where Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl, you dick.
Yeah, I remember every game. It was 2001 when I had memories. I was so 2000. That's
In the same way that I remember the Devils winning the Stanley Cup, you dumb shit.
You don't remember shit in the first grade. That's like kindergarten.
Same year. It's the same
Wait,
year.
Josh, are you saying you don't remember anything from before when you were 7 years old?
No, I'm
You're dumb as shit. You got dropped on your head as a kid.
no, I'm joking.
You are the dumbest kid ever.
All right, switching gears a little bit. Let's move over to the NBA. Very interesting thing happened at the Garden last week. We have Charles Oakley, a Knicks legend, getting kicked out and forced out by 12 security guards out of the Garden. Owner James Dolan comes out and basically insinuates that Charles Oakley has a drinking problem. I think that's what he said. He said he hopes he gets help. And then later in the day, comes out and announces that Charles Oakley has a lifetime ban from the Garden. John, being the resident Knicks fan, are you on Charles Oakley's side or are you on James Dolan's side? I hear James Dolan is one of the worst owners in all of New York, and then he's universally hated.
Yeah, first thing I would say is the Knicks organization is so bad. Charles Oakley is a Knick legend. There's no reason to have him arrested and banned from the Garden. That's ridiculous. Of course, he was out of line. It was awkward to watch and whatnot, but at least try to be a little more discreet about the whole thing. If you're the New York Knicks, these are the worst kinds of headlines you could be grabbing when you stink. You already have the Melo stuff going on, the Phil Jackson stuff going on. This organization is in a bad place right now.
And how about the balls on James Dolan to the next night? Reach out to Latrell Sprewell from the clouds. And was it Larry Johnson to come sit next to him? Was this just to show he has black friends? I didn't understand the move at all.
Yeah, it's getting really weird. You see what I mean? Like all of a sudden, game after game, it's like it gets a little weirder and a little weirder, and it's not fun to watch.
And then, okay, the one thing I cannot stand about people in New York in the Garden is how do you treat the Madison Square Garden like it's some temple, like it's so special? Nothing historic in that building has ever happened for the Knicks. The Rangers haven't won since '94. The Knicks haven't won since the '70s.
It pains me to say it, but Messier made the guarantee. That is one of the most epic things in sports history, even though it was against the Devils. I'll even admit it.
Okay, 20 years ago, what the Garden's known for is dudes like MJ coming in and dropping 60 on the Knicks' face, or Reggie Miller getting into it with Spike Lee. I'm sick of the Garden acting like it's some special place. Y'all stink. The only thing you got going for yourself is that Billy Joel plays there like 160 times a year. That's it.
To be fair, it is a pretty special place. It's hard to explain.
What's happening there?
When you're in it, you can just feel it. You can just feel it.
What? Pending doom of like not even making the playoffs? Is that what you feel? Because I feel like that's the only thing that's going on there.
I mean, if you want me to hate on the Rangers right now, I can. But
Go for it.
I'm feeling it. I'm just not feeling it.
I'm surprised the Giants don't play there.
That is such a bad shirt.
Okay, the only thing that the Madison Square Garden, one of the best things Madison Square Garden had going for itself was the Big East tournament. And now that's not even there. So I don't know what they got left. I just don't think it's special at all. I mean, you could, like, the old Boston Garden, many historic games played there. That's a temple. That's a basketball mecca. Madison Square Garden being mentioned in the same breath as that sort of environment, I think is laughable. So keeping on basketball, we have another situation where a former player wasn't so welcome to their old stomping grounds. We had Kevin Durant making his first appearance in Oklahoma City since leaving the Oklahoma City Thunder. Of course, the Golden State Warriors went in and totally smoked the Thunder. But all the Thunder's players were taking their shots. He was booed loudly. Everyone was getting in Durant's face. They were calling him a cupcake. That was kind of the inside joke. So everyone in the stands had these KD cupcake shirts. Scott, first let me hear what your stance was on the whole KD thing. Do you hate him for going to Golden State, or do you respect the move?
It's sad to say personally. I can't go either way, really. You got to respect the move to want to win championships. Is anyone going to doubt that? I don't think so. And yeah, to join forces with Steph Curry and the Splash Brothers, I mean, that sounds like a great idea. That'd be so much fun to play in. But at the same time, you know, teaming up, people may look down upon that and not show any respect towards them. But the way OKC treated him, I loved it. I mean, I would hate him too if he left OKC after 9 or 10 years there, including Seattle. But yeah, it was pretty nuts with the cupcake, and then they had the KD coward shirts. It was pretty funny. I may be wrong here. I saw it on Instagram earlier today. I think I saw Steph Curry wearing one of those cupcake shirts in the post game. Obviously, it was after they won. But if that's actually true, I thought it was pretty funny.
No, you saw it correctly. Curry, and I think most of them players, I think Thompson and Draymond all had the cupcake shirts. I heard Steph saying that he bartered with the guy behind the bench for he traded one of his Golden State pregame warm-ups for the cupcake shirt. But getting to this, I don't really fault KD for leaving at all. I think going to Golden State was kind of a soft move, so I do kind of agree with the stance that it was a cupcake move. I guess that's like an old Kendrick Perkins saying from when he was with the Thunder. But the amount of disdain that Russell Westbrook has for Kevin Durant, I think is more annoying than what KD actually did in going to a team like that. His like hatred for Kevin Durant has gone so over the top and like has lasted so long this year, and he keeps acting like a child whenever they play, that I think it's just overshadowed how like pussy of a move it was for KD to even go to Golden State in the first place.
At the beginning of this year, I had some respect for Russell Westbrook and what he was doing down in Oklahoma City. But each week of this NBA season that rolls on, I just keep losing it. And this past Saturday night, like you mentioned, Josh, that was the tipping point. If I was Kevin Durant, I would be running like hell from them too. Why would you want to play with this guy who doesn't even want to pass you the ball and you can go be a part of this dream team? Russell Westbrook is just a crybaby. He'll never win. I don't see him winning a championship, never mind competing with these guys in the Western Conference Finals. They've played 3 times this year. Durant's averaged 38 all 3 games, and they've just blown out the Thunder.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious he made the right decision after this game. Russell Westbrook had 11 turnovers, which is as many as the Golden State Warriors had the whole game. The guy doesn't let anyone else touch the ball. Kevin Durant has found the perfect balance of moving the ball and getting his own shots in Golden State. Him and Steph are still averaging high 20s. It's ridiculous. He was never going to get that in OKC. I think Kevin Durant had Russell Westbrook's back the whole time he was there, supported him. Even when, Mark Cuban came out and said he's not even an elite player, KD had his back. But I think it was obvious KD was sucking it up for a while. He probably wasn't getting his shots. The two of them couldn't exist on the same team. So KD turns the team over to Russell Westbrook, and he's ungrateful. It's his show now. What does he care? You guys weren't going to win a championship together. If you didn't get it done last year, you weren't going to get it done this year. So I think it's completely irrelevant.
Speaking of Russell Westbrook's 11 turnovers, I know we talk about this man a lot, but it's probably because it's a lot of fun too. Those 11 turnovers are kind of like playing with Carmelo Anthony, just shooting up 11 bricks, pretty much 11 turnovers. So I kind of agree with that move. I actually didn't think about it that way. Yeah, that would suck to play with Russell Westbrook. All he's about is his, stats. So those 11 turnovers, it's pretty comparable to Carmelo just, chucking up shots, brick after brick, clang after clang.
Yeah, the only thing I got to add on KD is I think it would have been a little more respectable if he went to the Celtics, go to the East, join up with Isaiah Thomas. You got Al Horford, 2 big signings. Actually, we were out in the Hamptons at the same time when the KD sweepstakes was going on. I tried to reach out to him via Twitter, invited him to Sloppy Tuna, said, I got drinks on me. Let's talk about this move. If Tom Brady and Isaiah Thomas didn't convince you, Miles and I could probably do a pretty good job over a couple beers, but he politely declined and didn't answer my tweet. So
the sad thing is we missed them on one of the first days, John. At
Tom Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady walked by where we walked 20 minutes earlier.
Yeah, and they went to that, I don't know, Blue something bar 4 hours.
Yeah.
It was almost destined.
They said the Celtics were his second choice behind Golden State, so maybe we can take a run at him after he wins a championship this year.
So
that's the kind of superstar I want on my team. He's not selfish. He wants to win. It's not about the stats. That's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
So when Golden State wins it all this year, blame Josh Patton for not getting Kevin Durant to come to the Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to do my job. I led out a helping hand. He politely declined. I didn't get my shot. What are you going to do? Moving on, we got our college basketball roundup. Kind of a quiet week in upsets-wise. We had Duke beating UNC at home in Cameron Indoor in the Tobacco Road rivalry. We had Scott's Terrapins going down on the road to Penn State. Gonzaga taking care of business to remain at number 1. Purdue beating Indiana. Indiana and Tom Crean, I don't expect much out of him the rest of this year. I think he's on a tight rope right now. The only upset of the weekend we really had was Virginia Tech over Virginia. Aside from that, most of the favorites won. Not a huge week in college basketball, but I think it's just highlighted by Duke over UNC. It looks like Grayson's back. It looks like Duke's back right in time to move forward to that push to March Madness.
Josh, you're completely right. I mentioned this episode 1 when Scott was quick to put Duke down, but that was at the beginning of January. We're a month later, a month closer to when it matters. Coach K's back. Grayson and Kennard are forming a good partnership in the backcourt. Jason Tatum's fitting in off the ball. Harry Giles, I mean, he might even show up. We can keep Bolden on the bench. That guy I don't know his left from his right. But the pieces we're working with are starting to come together. 5 wins in a row. Go in at Notre Dame, win. Now we beat North Carolina, picking up some ranked wins. It helps. Now we're up to number 12 in the poll, Scott. How about those Terps?
Hey, Terps are still hanging in there. Just got a nice and easy win here against Ohio State at in College Park. We're still hanging in. Surprisingly, we're still in the top 25 at number 23 this week. Moving right along, we got a big week ahead starting. I believe it's this Wednesday night actually at Northwestern. They used to be in the top 25. They're hanging on right outside there right now. And then Sunday, folks, mark your calendars at Wisconsin. This is the one Miles has been waiting for. So, it should be a good one over there in Wisconsin and Badgerland, whatever they want to call it. Terps will show up. we've been struggling recently, but the thing is, which is kind of promising for Maryland, is we actually play a lot of players. I think in the first 10 minutes of one game, we already started playing 10 players. So they should be rested. I've noticed that Duke, obviously they have a lot of talent over there, but it seems to me, Miles, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me they only, go 7, maybe 8 deep, which would concern me for the tournament. But, Miles, I don't know what your thoughts on that, but it seems to me Maryland's pretty deep.
It does not concern me this year. Like I was saying, Coach K isn't really even using Bolden, using Jeter. Frank Jackson could be used a lot more. This is the deepest Duke team we've seen in years. So that doesn't concern me in the slightest bit. It was more getting these guys all to click, molding them into a team that's going to work. We don't have a dominant point guard, but between Grayson and Kennard moving the ball up the floor, it's starting to work. Keep Tatum off the ball. Let him do his thing. That guy is so athletic. It's looking promising right now. I still got a month to go. Huge, huge game Wednesday night at UVA. Big time game. If we get a win there, we go into the weekend back to Cameron, Wake Forest. 7 in a row, not out of the question. Duke is really starting to make some noise. Speaking of noise this week, the NCAA College Basketball Selection Committee, which I completely disagree with, releasing the top 4 seeds in each region. The beauty of March Madness is that no one knew where they were going to be seated. The coaches poll is one thing, but the selection committee always values teams differently. And they showed that again. The Big Ten, 0 teams in the top 16. The ACC, on the other hand, as you would expect, 5 out of 16. Almost a third of the field is ACC teams. Also isn't helping your argument, Scott. Wisconsin goes down to Northwestern. You need an elite team in your conference, and I really thought that was Wisconsin. Every conference has them. You got the Kansas. You got the Duke and Carolinas. You got Villanova in the Big East. And the SEC, Florida's giving Kentucky a run for their money. But we just really don't have that team in the Big Ten that I'm afraid is going to make some noise down the stretch.
Yeah, like you were saying, I don't know how you can use that argument 2 different ways. You say ACC, they have those elite teams that you just mentioned. Duke as an elite team. They've lost to the likes of NC State and Virginia Tech. Wisconsin lost to Northwestern. You're saying the ACC is so stacked at the top, but they keep losing to these other teams, which, makes the ACC so great. And now all of a sudden the top Big Ten team loses to a lower team in the Big Ten, but the Big Ten sucks now. That must be it. Which is pretty interesting to me. But
I'm just saying, a team like Wisconsin needs to be the bell cow for your conference. The difference with the ACC being so deep this year is you look at Virginia Tech is in 8th place in the ACC. Who's in 8th place in the Big Ten?
I don't have the standings right in front of me, but probably Minnesota or something along those lines.
The caliber of teams is just different. If you look at the ACC, even at the top, Louisville is in 4th. Don't tell me the 4th place team in the Big Ten is giving Louisville a match. Louisville will smoke them.
Well, the 4th place team in the Big Ten right now is Northwestern. You've been talking up Wisconsin the whole time. So it'll be to be determined come March. I think obviously it always does. The NCAA tournament will answer all of our questions. Well, and we'll see how it all rolls out here, folks.
All right, that's going to do it for topics. Moving on to segments now.
And this is your Progressive Insurance Did You Know That of the week. Progressive Insurance. Ba 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 ba.
America runs on Progressive. Miles, I think you had a know the rules for this week.
I did, and it's brought to you by the NHL. Thursday night, the Dallas Stars and the Ottawa Senators. This proved to be a 1-goal game, and this goal, you could say, determined the events that night. Yuri Hudler, there's a delayed penalty on the Senators. Kari Lehtinen comes out of his net to the bench, gets the extra attacker. Now, for those of you who don't know hockey, as soon as the Senators touch the puck, whistle's blown. So there's no way they should be able to score in an empty net. However, Hudler skating up the middle of the ice, drops the puck back to a ghost defenseman who isn't there, and the puck goes in his own net, and the Senators win 3-2. Unbelievable. Dallas is in 5th in the Central, out of the wild card. Sellers at the trade deadline. It doesn't even surprise me. They don't even know the rules.
Nice.
You gotta know the rules.
rules.
It's good stuff.
John,
All right, good.
nothing from you? No, gotta know the rules.
I'm good. I already know. I already know the rules.
All right, so this weekend, he said, what? We have Under Armour CEO Kevin Plank calling President Trump a real asset to the country. And his head spokesman for his basketball line, Steph Curry, responds and says, yeah, if you take out the ET, basically coming out and calling the president an ass, speaking out directly against the CEO of the company he is the spokesman for. So it's pretty interesting. Do you guys see anything happening between Under Armour and Steph Curry at this point?
Really, I don't think so. With Steph's response here, I think it was kind of a nonchalant response, really. So, I mean, obviously, I think Steph respects Kevin Plank, and Kevin Plank respects Steph Curry right back. So, I really don't see much going on after this. It pretty much seems, like I said, nonchalant. Steph, said something, then just moved on. Doesn't seem to me like he's making too much of a big deal out of it, which I actually respect out of Steph. Yeah, I really don't see much happening after this.
Miles?
I don't see much either. Nowadays, with the media blowing stories way over the top, it's refreshing to see that Steph Curry made these comments, pretty much going along with what our culture has become in denouncing the president. And people don't realize that Plank's part of Trump's American Manufacturing Council. So obviously he's going to support the guy. And Curry may have different views. That's fine. He can voice them, and we'll all move on. Take notes, America.
John, got anything else to add?
First of all, Kevin Plank, what are you doing? You own a sports gear company, and you publicly pick a side on one of the most polarizing people in history. That has to be one of the worst things you could ever do. You risk losing sales regardless of which side you pick. So stupid move by Kevin Plank. As for Steph Curry, he said he won't go along with something that he's not comfortable going along with. So if I was Plank, I would be very careful about what I say moving forward, or else you risk losing one of the biggest names you have signed, especially in basketball.
All right, Scott.
John, I would actually think it would be pretty sad for Kevin Plank to lose sales off of that. If people are not going to buy shoes based on the quality of the shoe, just because of his views, I think that's actually pretty sad. But to each their own. They can voice their opinion if they don't want to buy his shoes, and that's the way they're going to go about that. So be it. But I'm actually not too surprised Kevin Plank voiced his own opinion. He can voice his opinion too here, folks.
Scott, you're completely right. That's the problem with this country. If you like the shoes, you buy the shoes. It shouldn't be made up of what you hear in the media. Oh, he said this, so now we're not going to support him for this reason. It's your own opinion. They're nice shoes. They're dry fit shoes, nice shirts. They feel good. That's all that matters. It shouldn't matter about he said what?
Yeah, I think this is just shedding a little light on the bigger picture here. We've already had a number of Patriots come out and say that they're not going to go to the White House for the president's beliefs. And looking at it now, the NBA is 95% African American. I think the Patriots are going to be the first ones to go to the White House and see what happens, but I can see it being half as many people as you usually get. And I think when the NBA's turn comes up, you might not be getting anyone to go to visit the White House. I think this is going to be an ongoing problem and sort of awkward because it is a pretty valued tradition of championship teams going to visiting the White House. Moving on to a new segment this week, we got Fact or Fiction, and this stems right from a personal debate that a couple of us had. Fact or fiction? Ghosts. Are ghosts real? Scott, I think you're a huge ghost guy. What do you got on ghosts?
Yeah, personally, I'm a firm believer. I actually haven't had any occurrences or experiences myself. I'm from Maryland, but in Annapolis, the state's capital, there's called the Maryland Inn. It is known as the most haunted hotel in Maryland. All the employees apparently know this one ghost. I don't know his name, but I'm definitely a firm believer. I've seen a couple of videos of people I know. They actually showed me their videos, and I thought it was pretty clear as day. Yeah, I'm a firm believer. I know John isn't. I really don't care about his opinion, but I like to hear it.
Ghosts are probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Don't really understand how you could believe in them. They make for good stories. I love watching scary movies. They absolutely scare the crap out of me. But at the same time, ghosts are so clearly not real. No evidence whatsoever. Not buying it.
Did you say there's no evidence of ghosts?
Yeah, dude, there's no evidence of ghosts.
What are you talking about?
What are you?
There's
Give me
tons of
one
evidence.
piece of evidence. Give me one piece of
He
evidence.
said, what?
You hear a little something in the dark? That's a ghost.
Absolutely not. It could be. Yeah. That's how you explain things these days? Anything that you can't see or you can't explain exactly what's happening, it's just a ghost now?
And if it's in the dark, yeah.
It's just the classification.
Okay.
So the level of light matters.
Let me talk because that's a terrible argument. John, growing up when I was younger, there was a show on Sci-Fi called Ghost Hunters. Raw footage of these guys investigating so-called paranormal places. One of the most famous places in this country is in Pennsylvania, Eastern State Penitentiary. They have clear as day video of apparitions, crazy noises, plenty of stuff going on. If you don't want to believe in ghosts, spirits, something, there's something out there.
Or nah.
Has anyone had a ghost encounter, an encounter with a ghost?
I had an experience where I thought it was a ghost.
Please do tell.
So this is just some confirmation as to why ghosts don't exist. I was sitting in the living room the summer between my junior and senior year of college and playing some video games late at night with the kid I was living with. And all of a sudden, we thought we saw something, and we thought we heard something. We were the only two in the house. House had like 6 bedrooms. We think we see something. We think we hear something. This happens again and again and again. Turns out it's just a bat flying around the living room. I wish to hell it was a ghost. That was the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Damn near had to run out of the house, grab brooms. We were swatting at this thing for an hour before we finally got it out. Ghosts aren't real.
Yeah, but the point is, you were playing video games, so you had the lights on. It wasn't in the dark, so it obviously wasn't a ghost. Ghosts only exist in the dark, you idiot. You had never seen a
This
ghost.
argument is so dumb.
That's the
Ghosts
point
do
of
not
this segment.
only exist in the dark. Ghosts do not exist at all.
My
Why
question
ghosts
is,
are-
what is all of these people, I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but the Battle of Gettysburg and whatnot, all these people in Gettysburg, I believe it's Pennsylvania, not positive, but all these people in Gettysburg are just like, yeah, Battle of, Gettysburg, all these people died in this battle way back when, and there's all these ghost stories, there's ghost tours. Are people making money off of fake things? Yeah, that obviously exists in life, but come on. I mean, there's thousands, millions of people, that spend their whole life doing this whole ghost hunt. So I'm a firm believer.
Any
Yeah,
sort
no.
of tragic event, like Scott was saying, a war, you have these a lot at, like it was mentioned, in mental hospitals, penitentiaries, jails. When you have tragic moments in people's lives, how can you say that their soul, their spirit doesn't live on, doesn't want to go back to that spot? That's where you see the most occurrences, and it's definitely a real thing.
No, you don't see any occurrences because it's not a real thing. Give me one scientific basis for ghosts.
Electromagnetic fields.
It's not a scientific basis for ghosts at all.
It gets
Motion
cold
detector.
when they're around.
No. I'm not saying tell me all the stupid
Heat
tropes
detector.
about what happens when there's a ghost. I'm telling you, give me a scientific reason for why, for a soul, and for why it would live on after death and hunt.
I don't even believe in
Because
the afterlife, but I believe in ghosts.
This is just completely contradicting itself.
See, the only thing that kind of I don't like about ghosts is if ghosts exist, doesn't that mean like religion's real, sort of? Afterlife, sort of shit.
The idea, well, depending on what your belief in the backing for ghosts is.
Yeah.
If you think that there's a soul that
Yeah.
lives on, then that might be like a connection to a higher power. So
I do believe in tragic events, the soul lives on, like I was saying, or the spirit wants to go back to how that person was living their life.
why only tragic events?
Because when I die, when I'm however old, maybe I'm just having a good time. I'm at a golf course, and it's my time to pass.
You
Ain't
just
nothing
have
wrong.
peace. You just so it's when you die before your time, quote unquote.
Exactly. You see this all the time. Most ghosts on these shows are little kids. Something unexplainable happened to them. They died in the fire. They want to go back to their house.
Yeah, that or it's just a coping mechanism for the parents.
Well, they're dead too because the fire burned down the whole.
You want science? That's science, Rick. Anyway, what I wanted to bring up the point was, if ghosts relive or exist at a tragic event, multiple timelines at the same time, some sort of dimension world. I'm off the hinges now.
Are you going to Stranger
Some sort
Things
of
now?
something like that. Yeah, multiple dimensions overlapping, different time periods overlapping, something like that. I don't even know where I'm going, but
So you're saying a
Yeah.
tragic event where someone dies unexpectedly or before their time causes a rip between different dimensions that causes them to kind of overlap and apparitions pass into our dimension. That's
Boom, there's
about
the
as
science.
scientific a basis as you can come up with, I think. I'll give you at least some credit.
ghosts not real, multiple timelines in parallel universes. Boom, gotcha.
Fact. Science.
That's science. And yeah, let's go Browns.
That's going to do it for fact or fiction. I think it's debatable, but ghosts, more probable than not.
Not real.
they're real. Okay. Probably real, but okay. Let's move on. Did you know that? Let's get into them. Scott, what's your did you know that of the week?
Oh, well, my did you know that is, it's actually pretty simple. It has absolutely nothing to do with the sports world, but I really feel we need to talk about this. Folks, the one and only McDonald's, one of John Nolan's favorite places to go to. They have come out with the new Big Mac, what they're calling the Grand Mac. Now, maybe it should be called the Bigger Mac, but they went with Grand Mac. So I just experienced this wonderful, wonderful sandwich tonight. 3 delicious buns, 2 huge patties. My did you know that is, did you know the Grand Mac is a whole lot of food?
All right, John, what's your did you know that?
Did you know that Jordan Spieth is the second fastest golfer of all time to reach 9 wins, only 1 month behind Tiger Woods himself? Definitely an amazing career achievement, but let's not be confused here, folks. Tiger Woods was operating at a much higher level at this point. He won his first major, the 97 Masters, by 12 shots. I don't think Jordan's on that level yet. So, yes, Jordan Spieth, it's worth noting, but he has a long way to go before he's really in that discussion.
All right, Miles, what's your did you know that?
This week, my Did You Know That references something they will never let me talk about. The most popular sport in the world, soccer. And this week kicks off the round of 16 Champions League. Did you know that there's never been a repeat champion in the Champions League? Real Madrid won last year. Real Madrid are the heavy favorites to repeat this year. Maybe we'll see history.
All right, and to finish off the segment, my did you know that is one of the greatest coxmen in history, Mount Rushmore of coxmen, up there with your Leonardo DiCaprios, your Brad Pitts, your George Clooney's. Derek Jeter is having a kid with his 25-year-old model wife. That's unfortunate. It feels like Derek Jeter's past couple years, he retired, got married, and had a kid. 2 completely different stories from the lifestyle he was living when he was playing baseball to his retirement life. It's unfortunate to see one of the all-time greats go down like this, but what are you going to do? Let's finish up here. We got What's on Your Mind. John, what's on your mind?
This Saturday, I'm taking the trip up to home turf in New Jersey to watch the Devils take on the Islanders. Taylor Hall has been on an absolute tear this year. He's coming off a hot All-Star festivities appearance. I'll be with some of the most ignorant Islanders fans on the face of the earth. We're talking about fans that got cranberry vodkas thrown on them in the Verizon Center, losing to the Washington Capitals. What a game. There's no way the Devils will be coming out of the Prudential Center with anything short of a win in regulation. I'm calling it now. Devils winning this Saturday.
All right, Miles, what's on your mind?
This week, it's hard not to notice that back in my hometown of Westwood, we have 2 feet of snow on the ground. What an easy winter it's been. Now we got 2 feet of snow out of nowhere in less than a week. This Saturday, I was watching the Alpine Skiing World Championships with my dad, and Lindsey Vonn picks up a bronze medal. She's back on the mat after breaking her leg, breaking her arm. She is a good-looking girl who is putting on for the sport of skiing.
Speaking of another Olympian, I was just at the grocery store yesterday, minding my own, and what would you know but Olympic gold medalist Allie Raisman right by me. So Allie Raisman comes walking down the bread aisle where I'm at. I go to grab buns. Luckily, I grabbed the ones on the shelves, not the ones in the yoga pants she was wearing. Being very respectful, she looked drop dead gorgeous. I was left speechless. I was too nervous to talk. The second I noticed it was her, I went to try to be like, Allie Raisman. I just pushed out and I didn't say anything. I was just starting shopping. She had one thing. It looked like she was going straight to the checkout aisle. So I never got my chance. It's really unfortunate because who knows, Valentine's Day coming up. She could have been looking for a date. We'll never know. And that's what's on my mind. Scott?
What's on my mind is some recent events that actually occurred today. NFL offseason, folks. The Giants are just cleaning house right now. Got rid of their poor, sad excuse of a running back, Rashad Jennings, and one guy who just couldn't return from an injury in Victor Cruz. So very interesting to see what the Giants are doing. I don't think they'll be relevant, but definitely interested in what the Skins are going to do. I don't think there's any choice but to keep going with Kirk Cousins. So probably going to franchise them. And then they got their wide receivers and their defensive problems. So probably going to re-sign Pierre Garçon, let go of Deshaun Jackson, and then who knows what we're going to do with our defense. Certainly needs a lot of work.
All right, let's finish it out with the weekly pick'ems. After last week, Miles now stands well ahead of everyone at 10-2. I'm at 500, 6-6. Scott's one behind me at 5-7, and John had a little bit of a comeback last week, and now he stands at 4-8. So let's get right into it. We got the NHL starting off. We got Islanders at the Devils. John will be in attendance. I'm going to take the Devils at home this one. Scott?
Certainly have the Islanders. The Devils are a joke of a team.
Miles?
I want to pick against the Devils, and it makes it even easier when you look at, since the Islanders have fired their head coach, 6-2-2. The Islanders are rolling. The Devils suck. Islanders.
John?
Clearly going with the Devils here. Can't wait to be in the home arena.
Ignorance is bliss.
NBA now. We got it's all-star weekend, East versus West. It's pretty much a bunch of guys from the East versus the Golden State Warriors. So I'm going to take the West all day, every day, better conference. Scott?
I'm going to go with my boys from the East. John Wall, hopefully he shows up. Do I think the West are better? Yeah, but I'm going with the East.
Miles?
Hard to pick an all-star game. You don't know who's going to show up, but the West is a better conference, so I'll go with the West.
John, are you prepared for this?
Yeah, I'm very prepared for this. Russell Westbrook will be the only one on the entire floor trying his absolute hardest. The West are going to win, no doubt in my mind. Westbrook goes home with the MVP.
All right, we got college basketball. The Terps are at the Wisconsin Badgers. Big Ten matchup. I'm going to take the home team and the higher seed in this one. I'll take Wisconsin. Scott?
I think everyone knows here I'm going with the Terps, but why? Like I've been mentioning, I think they're pretty deep. They should be rested. It is a game on Sunday. Should be coming off a win at Northwestern. So, yeah, go Terps.
John, who you got between the Terps and Badgers?
Wisconsin still has Nigel Hayes, played in the national championship game with none other than Frank Kaminsky, the mailman. He always delivers. Some of that's got to rub off Wisconsin Badgers.
Miles?
I got Wisconsin as well. There's no way Wisconsin loses 2 games in a row at the Kohl Center. Too difficult a place to play. Maryland just lost at Penn State. They're in for a real road game this time. Badgers.
All right, and let's finish it with Champions League this week. We got Arsenal at Bayern Munich. I think it's a no-brainer. I'm taking Bayern Munich. Scott?
I guess I'll go with Bayern.
Miles?
Definitely Bayern. Arsenal have lost in the round of 16 every year since 2010.
John?
I'm going Bayern as well.
All right, that's going to do it. That is the episode 4 of the Know the Rules podcast. Send in suggestions. Follow us on Facebook. Anything you guys want us to talk about, comment. See what Scott's been posting on the Facebook group. We'll probably have Twitter and Instagram up in the next couple of weeks once this thing starts getting going.
Guest appearances.
Yeah, we're going to start working in some guest appearances next couple episodes. Start talking about a couple other topics, bringing in some new voices. Hope you guys like that. Any suggestions, put it on the Facebook page, and we'll take a look at them. That's going to do it. Nice, thick ass, 5 foot tall ass.
Found you, Miss New Booty. Get it together and bring it back to me. Hit the players.